A to the K.
To the K.
To the K.
Coming at you quicker than Ric Flair on an aeroplane, allegedly, it's time for the Rapid Roundup. And starting off with SmackDown, John Cena kicking off the show, but he's interrupted by a returning Roman Reigns who calls John Cena a coward. He says he only came back because Roman was on leave. And Cena says, I don't want a shot because I've not earned one. But there is someone who has, and out comes LA Knight. Yeah, he looks like he's next in line for the tribal chief, but Jimmy attacks him. However, LA Knight does get the better of him, and Roman and the bloodline leave. Meanwhile, Pretty Deadly, they are back, they are injury free, and they manage to get the win over the Brawling Brutes. Speaking of people who are back, Carlito has returned to WWE, and for the first time, we get to see him on SmackDown, and he is interrupted by Bobby Lashley, who reminds him the last time he was on SmackDown, he was the one beating him up. Carlito says, how about for his first match back, it's Carlito versus Bobby, but the Street Profits hit him with a chair from behind and beat him down. LWO come out, they check on him, and Bayley is asking Adam Pearce about throwing EO a celebration party, but he says, I'm dealing with something right now. Selena gets in Bayley's face and says there's more important things to be dealing with, and the two start arguing, and Pearce tells them to settle it in the ring, which they do, and Bayley squashes her in less than 3 minutes. So not ideal there for Zelina. After the match, Damage Control beat it down, but Charlotte makes the save. Of course she does. We also find out later in the night that Charlotte is going to go one-on-one with Io Sky next week for the title. And just as she goes to leave, baby, we get the face-off of all face-offs. This is a big fight feel. And big shout out to Jay Cargill for resharing our thing on Instagram. But yeah, look at this. Don't you just want to inject it into my veins? I want to see it. So I can't wait. This is the match to make. I can't wait to see it happen. Triple H, he's back on SmackDown. He praises Adam Pearce for the work he's done over the last 3 years, and he gives him a promotion. Pearce is now the general manager of Raw, which means there needs to be a new GM of SmackDown. But just before Triple H can announce who it is, Dominic Mysterio comes out. Triple H jokes that he's always thought they were pumping in the booze, but obviously that's not the case. Dom talks about injustice, but Hunter says he's speaking to the wrong people. He needs to speak to the new SmackDown GM, Nick freaking Aldis. And Aldis comes in. He tells Dom he's a big fan of his dad. Says a while ago Cody Rhodes was involved in a trade with Jey Uso going to Raw, so now he's going to bring out the person he was traded for, and it's Kevin Owens. Owens hits Dom with a stunner, and everyone shakes hands in the ring. Look, colour me surprised. I was not expecting this. I don't know what this means now for Kevin Owens, what this means for Sami Zayn. Big Kevin Owens fan, but he's on SmackDown. I'm guessing he's not going to be winning the world title anytime soon, so let's see what happens there. But yeah, shocking developments all around. Speaking of shocking developments, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso defend the tag team titles against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, and they get the job done with pretty relative ease, but as they're leaving, they have a bit of a standoff with Jimmy and Solo, and for the first time since WrestleMania, Roman and Cody stare each other down on the aisle, and everyone comes out to try and make sure it doesn't all kick off. But yeah, it's still there. Just when you thought that they'd wasted the chance, there's still the potential for something cool to happen there. So I can't wait to see how that goes. Following on from this, the main event, LA Knight takes on Solo Sikoa. Jimmy tries to get involved, but Cena hits him with an AA. Then Solo spikes Cena, but gets hit with the BFT, allowing LA Knight to pick up the win, making him just the third person to defeat Solo in singles action after Cody and Jay. So definitely they're on the hype train for LA Knight, baby. Actually, before we go on to Raw, forgot about this bit. After the match, Roman does hit LA Knight with a spear, so it looks like pretty much 2 matches confirmed for Crown Jewel now. Roman versus LA Knight and John Cena versus Solo Sikoa seems to be the two they are aiming for. Finally, onto Raw, Sami Zayn kicks things off. He's sad KO's been traded to SmackDown, but he's happy for him because he knows he's going to do great things. But he's also happy for himself because he's going to stand on his own 2 feet. He's going to prove he's world champion material. The elephant in the room is Kevin Owens is gone because of Jey Uso. Nobody was happier than he was when he came to Raw, but now he's kind of struggling with that as well. He goes on to say about him and Kevin Owens' main event in WrestleMania, but their tag title reign was tinted by the Judgment Day. And speak of the Devils, they come out, they say they're happy KO's gone. They want to see Sami gone as well, also Drew McIntyre, and they plan to win the titles in the main event. They surround the ring, but Jay comes down with the steel chair. Judgment Day retreat, and yeah, they kind of stand tall in the ring. But backstage, Sammy and Jay do have a talk. Sammy wants to be happy for Jay, but he feels it should have been KO that was having his back out there. Things do get a bit tense, but they ultimately end up hugging it out. So let's see what goes down there. Shinsuke and Ricochet, the first match of the night. It's Falls Count Anywhere. They go all over the arena. Pretty good match. Eventually, Shinsuke kicks him off the turnbuckle through a table and gets the pin right in front of Ricochet's fiancée. So lovely heelish moves there from Shin. Piper Niven defeats Natalya. Here and Chelsea beat her down after the match, but Tegan Nox makes a save. Ludwig Kaiser beats Johnny Gargano, so welcome back, Johnny. Here's a loss. And Becky Lynch gets challenged by Xia Li, and they end up basically face-to-face, Becky and Jade Cargill backstage. So Jade is everywhere, getting face-to-face with all the top ones. We love to see it, and I can't wait to see which brand she chooses. We then get Seth. He comes out and he brings out Drew McIntyre. He rolls a video from last week of Drew talking with Rhea Ripley in the backstage area. Drew says it's none of his business what he was doing. Seth says dealing with the Judgment Day is a slippery slope. And Drew says, look, Seth, you look rattled. Last time they had a world title match, he whooped his ass. He mentioned the bloodline, and Seth tells him to stop going on about the bloodline. They've moved on from Drew, and Drew needs to get over it. But Drew says, you know what, Seth, you love having people sing your song and cheer you on as a champ. I was world champion in front of nobody. He had the chance to get it back again at Clash, but you know, the bloodline screwed him over, and so he won't just get over it. He says, you know, so yeah, he's not going to get over it. Seth then says if he beats him at Crown Jewel, then he's got no one to blame but himself. So this is heated up from the little friendly rivalry it started out to be, isn't it? So yeah, can't wait for this match. Much better than Shinsuke versus Seth. I can't wait to see. Don't think Drew's going to win, but I would love it if he did. We then get Rhea Ripley taking on Shayna Baszler. Partway through, though, Nia Jax comes down. Raquel Rodriguez stops her getting involved. Then out of nowhere, a wild Zoe Stark appears. She gets involved, and then they're all brawling. It gets into the ring, and somehow Zoe Stark's the one left standing, so I'm guessing the match was a no contest. And then later in the night, Adam Pearce makes it official. There'll be a fatal five-way between these at Crown Jewel. Then Gunther retains the Intercontinental title after a hard-fought match with Bronson Reed. Sammy and Drew have a bit of a backstage confrontation, and now they're set for a match next week. Indus Sher, they also show up. They talk with Adam Pearce, but we don't know what that's about. And New Day and Alpha Academy are going to battle next week, seemingly for a number one contenders match for the tag titles, but we'll see if that seems to be the case. And speaking of those tag titles, we got new champs. Main event, Cody and Jay battle the Judgment Day. Dom got involved, but Sammy stops him. But then Jimmy shows up and costs Cody and Jay the titles. Two-time champs for the Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor. So look, where does this leave everybody now? Are we going to get Jimmy versus Jay before WrestleMania? Are they going to try and drag that out? You know, Cody, Jay and Sammy, are they going to team against the Bloodline? Is this going to move into Survivor Series? Lots of unknowns at the minute. But yeah, interesting show all round. Let's mosey on over to AEW, shall we? Now, we already covered Dynamite in our Tuesday Night War special, so let's start with Rampage. Six-man tag action kicking off the show. Hardy Party taking on Daddy Magic, Cool Hand Ange, and Daniel Garcia, with the latter getting the win. After the match, Daddy Magic and Daniel Garcia seemingly still not on the same page. Daddy Magic not happy with all the dancing and stuff, and the fact he tried to help out Jericho last week. So Daddy Magic storms out. So yeah, this one clearly, you know, going to implode a little bit further, shall we say. Jay Lethal manages to score a win over Trent and we get to see a much darker Skye Blue. Obviously, still feeling the effects of the mist from Julia Hart. Skye gets a win over Emi Sakura to earn herself a shot to Chris Statlander on Collision. And we also see a video package of Santana and Ortiz trading shots at each other. So it looks like we're going to get to see them two former tag partners face off pretty soon. They could have built this up a little bit more across the other shows, like Rampage. Let's face it, it is kind of C tier, isn't it, for them? So, yeah, I was surprised that we didn't get to see a little bit of this more on Dynamite or Collision, but it is what it is. And, yeah, I'm sure the two former tag partners will put on an absolute classic. We then get the main event, Gates of Agony taking on Blackpool Combat Club's Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. BCC members get the win. Not the strongest main event, and to be honest, the whole show didn't really have that much of a big fight feel. It is a shame. There was at one point in time, as I said, Collision was the best hour of pro wrestling a week, but yeah, it really does just feel like the C show now, unfortunately. So yeah, I suppose when you've got Collision and Dynamite, what can you do? Speaking of Collision, Adam Copeland kicking off the show. But before he can say too much, Christian Cage comes out with Nick Wayne, Luchasaurus, and a bunch of security. Then Bryan Danielson, who's going to be facing Christian in the main event. He says Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne are banned from ringside for that match. And then Ricky Starks shows up. Him and Copeland end up in a little bit of a promo battle. Adam refers to him as a vanilla midget version of The Rock, tells him to know his role, to which Ricky says, that's put him over the edge. Haha. Then FTR come out, it's all going on. They say they don't get an immediate rematch for the tag titles, but they're going to work their way back to the top. And Danielson says, why doesn't he and Ricky Starks have their match right now? But they all scarper. So the babyfaces beat up the security. So that's the way we kick off the show. Samoa Joe retains the title against Willie Mack. Kyle Fletcher defeats Boulder. Keith Lee defeats Turbo Floyd of the Outrunners. And we also get Juice Robinson defeating Christopher Daniels. After that match, the Bang Bang Gang call out MJF, but Juice says MJF needs a dynamite ring to knock people out. He's been knocking out losers like him for years, but he's still going to take MJF's ring. He's going to pawn it off and send the Bang Bang Gang on a vacay. Jay White says MJF's world is about to fall apart. It begins when Juice gets his dynamite ring, and it ends when Jay beats him with full gear and his world crumbles. So, yeah. All very interesting, all this. No Adam Cole in his corner either, so things are looking a bit dicey for MJF. CJ Perry says she came to AEW to make champions. If you want to become champ, find the woman who makes made men. Action Andretti says he wants her to manage him. We do get a return video for Danhausen, who we'll be seeing soon, just in time for Halloween, it seems. And the Acclaim try and teach Max Caster how to make friends, but ultimately he asks Renee about her oral sessions. And yeah, then they get into a bit of confrontation with the former Jericho Appreciation Society members. They call him off for a match next week, and Miro beats the shit out of Action Andretti, so that lasted long. We also get Skye Blue, who beat Emi Sakura on Rampage. She's challenging Chris Statlander for the TBS title. The two of them put on a fantastic match. Skye Blue's definitely on the verge of some kind of heel turn here, or maybe Willow is, I'm not too sure. But this whole mist to the face angle, they definitely both changed a little bit. Stat does retain though after a great match. She does offer a handshake, but Skye Blue doesn't accept. Willow comes out and she shoos Stat out of the ring. So yeah, as I say, the pair of them have been misted, so who knows, they're both going to turn heel, just one of them. Is this a bit of classic misdirection? We will have to see. And for the main event, Christian Cage defends the TNT title against Bryan Danielson. Really solid match. Danielson has the match won with the LeBell lock, but Big Bill distracts. Ricky Starks hits Danielson with the title, allowing Christian to get the win and retain. After the match, there's a bit of a beatdown. FTR try and make the save, but they're outnumbered. Then Adam Copeland evens the odds. Nick Wayne is the only one left in the ring, and he eats a spear to close out the show. And yeah, a bit of a preview for Dynamite since we didn't run through it this week. It happens tomorrow night, this Wednesday. So we've got Kyle Fletcher challenging Kenny Omega in a match which is sure to be awesome, and Penta against Jay White in another epic battle. We get the latest installment from Tony Storm, and there's going to be a sit-down interview with Jim Ross and Nick Wayne. Meanwhile, Sting is addressing the fans. What does this mean? Hopefully he's not saying his retirement's on the horizon, but you can't blame the guy if he does. He is in his 60s now, but he is a ledge, and we want to see him for as long as we can. And we do get the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal. Whoever wins this will challenge MJF for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So yeah, another fun-filled episode of the Rapid Roundup. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this week's action. Follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will catch you on the next one.